This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Bryan Driscoll, and I'm here with Jay Connor. What's going on, Jay?
My Lance, what's going on, Bryan, is you have invited me to talk about my favorite subject, which is private money and private lending, and how us real estate investors never miss out on a deal for not having the money.
Yeah, and that's a big problem some people have. They come across an awesome deal, and they're like, I don't have the cash to do it. So give a little background, like where'd you come from? What's your experiences, and what do you do now? Open question.
Well, let me see if I can summarize that a little bit. So first of all, when it comes to private money, Bryan, I have never asked anybody for money. I've never asked anybody for money. And people say, well, Jay, how in the world have you and your wife, Carol Joy, got 44 private lenders funding your deals and you've never asked for money? And it's really a very simple answer. The answer is I put on my teacher hat and I teach people that have never heard about private money, what private money is, how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely. So I teach them my program. In other words, Bryan, the money comes first. You know, from my experience, the worst time to be raising money and teaching people about money is when you need it for a deal. I mean, my lands, I've never pitched a deal in my life. And they say, how in the world have you never pitched a deal in your life, Jay? Well, it's because I don't come to a potential private lender, teach them my program, and offer a deal at the same time. I already sound like I'm desperate and I'm begging. You know, the old traditional model is, whether you're looking to borrow money from a bank or you're looking to borrow money from a hard money lender. And in my world, I'm not talking hard money. I'm talking private money. You know, the old business model was you go to the bank or you go to the hard money lender and you get on your hands and knees and you put your hands underneath your chin and you go, please fund my deal. Please fund my deal. And in this world, it's a 180-degree dichotomy. Instead of asking for a mortgage or begging for a mortgage, you are offering a mortgage and teaching people how they can have an opportunity to earn, high rates of return. So how in the world did I get into this world of private money? Well, I can tell you, Bryan, how I did not get into it. I just didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I think I'll go raise some private money. No, it was out of necessity. I started investing in single-family houses in 2003 here in Eastern North Carolina. Today, we do 2 to 3 deals a month. It's not a lot of deals, but the average profits now are $74,000 per deal that we do. And so when I started out in 2003, I relied on the local banks to fund my deals from 2003 to 2009. That's all I knew to do. But you know what? I remember it like it was yesterday. Actually, Bryan, you may find this interesting. We actually still have landlines here in North Carolina. There's actually a cord attached to this thing called a, telephone receiver. Anyway, I called up my banker in 2009, January 2009. I've been doing this business for 6 years. I told him about 2 deals I had under contract to fund, and I learned on that telephone conversation, there was a global financial crisis going on, and my bank wasn't loaning money out to real estate investors anymore. Well, I hung up the phone, and I realized now I have a financial crisis. So my definition of coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. In less than a week, I was introduced to this world of private money. And Bryan, since that time, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the funding. So I put on my teacher hat. I started teaching people what private money is, how it works, how they're protected. And in less than 90 days, I had money chasing me. I raised over $2,150,000 in private money. And so I practice and teach. The money comes first. There's always deals. I mean, there's always motivatedleads.com, right? But why do I want to stress myself out, go get a deal under contract and have no way to fund it? We got friends out there, Bryan. You and I are in a fantastic mastermind together. And we've got friends that teach, get the deal under contract, get the deal under contract. The money will come, the money will show up. Where? Where's the money going to show up? Is it just going to rain out of the clouds? Now, of course, you can be a wholesaler and wholesale it if you've got a buyer's list of other real estate investors. But I'm talking about staying in the deal. You got to have the money, lined up. So how did I get into this business? I've been in it now full time since 2003, been through more than one cycle. And what I've learned is when you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, just think about and imagine how much more confident you're going to be. How many more offers are you going to make? My statistics show, Bryan, that 87% of for sale by owners will not sell to me on terms. 13% will, and I'm a good negotiator and closer, but those other 87% want all the money. And some people say, oh, you only need private money for the ugly house business and rehabs. I use private money all the time for pretty houses that don't need hardly any renovation because the seller requires all the cash. So back to your question, what's my background? How did I get into this? It was out of necessity. And I'll tell you what, one thing I learned is that it's impossible to fail unless you choose to quit. And when I got cut off from the banks, I could have quit. But, quitting wasn't an option for me. And, where does all the growth take place? Growth in your business takes place under adversity when you're in the valley. And you know what? If I hadn't had that problem and cut off from the banks, Bryan, you and I wouldn't even be having a chat today.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point too, because a lot of people get kicked in the face and then they don't want to get back up. That's when it forces you to make those changes, and it forces you to get uncomfortable to figure things out.
Well, speaking of uncomfortable, I tell people all the time, particularly my students, I said, look, the definition of success, one definition of success is you learn how to get real comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's true. Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I started the podcast. I was uncomfortable talking in front of a camera. I'm like, well, let's do it a lot. Now I'm comfortable,
Well, good night. You look like a movie star.
You're crazy. Are you teaching people that you want to be private money lenders? Or are you teaching real estate investors?
Both.
Okay.
So I teach real estate investors how to attract their own private money very, very quickly. And again, I'm not talking hard money. And by the way, I'm not knocking hard money. Some of my best friends in the industry are hard money lenders. They got their own funds. While at the same time, I teach new real estate investors, seasoned real estate investors. In fact, Stu and Harriet Baldwin out of Elmira, New York, they came to work with me a little while ago. They had already raised millions in private money. They got a portfolio of only of over 100 houses. So they came to me to want to raise more private money. Well, we started working together a little bit ago. They've raised another $2.5 million in private money that they didn't have. So yes, I work with real estate investors, brand new and seasoned real estate investors, on how to get a lot of private money. And here's the deal. In this world, you make the rules. When I was borrowing money from the banks, they made the rules, but we set the interest rate, we set the term, we set how the whole program works, as opposed to going to, say, a hard money lender or a bank, and, they set the rules. So yeah, I teach real estate investors, whether they're brand new or seasoned, how to get a whole lot more private money very, very quickly. And I also teach new private lenders that have never loaned private money out how they can do this and make very, very high rates of return safely and securely. So hatch them, match them, get them together. I help create very nice marriages. Last week at my live event, the Private Money Academy conference, one of my attendees said a phrase I never heard it before. I always say it's got to be a win-win scenario. Everybody's got to win. He said, well, one of his mentors that he had said, when you do a transaction, the cash has got to be happy on both sides of the table. And I love that phrase. Everybody's got to win, be happy. Private lenders are happy. They're protected. I never borrow unsecured funds. We always collateralize their note. They know what, their rate of return is going to be. So, yeah, I teach the real estate investor how to locate private lenders, how to do business with them. And I teach new private lenders how to do the business and how to be protected to where everybody wins.
That's interesting. So when you're saying you're teaching new private investors, you're educating them on how it works, things like that. Is that how you're saying that they're chasing you? Because you're showing them how it works, but not really pitching them a deal. They're like, well, I want to get involved in that.
I've never pitched a deal. So here's how it works. When I'm teaching a new potential private lender, and it could be at a luncheon, it could be one-on-one, doesn't matter. I teach them the program, right? So I have my private lending program. What's my interest rate I pay? What's the maximum allowable loan to value? I will allow my private lenders to loan to me. So I teach them the program. At the end of teaching them the program, I don't ask them, are you in? I don't ask them, are you interested? Of course they're interested. Where else can they get these kind of rates of return safely and securely? And so I teach it, and they say, well, how do I get started? Well, I can tell you how they don't get started. They don't write me a check. Nobody writes me checks. Funds are wired directly to my real estate attorney or whoever your closing agent is, your title company. So I teach them the program. They let me know how much they have to invest. Maybe it's investment capital. Over half of my private lenders are using retirement funds. So I will introduce them to my self-directed IRA company that I use, and they'll transfer their funds or part of their funds over. So I know how much they've got to invest. Now, when I've got a deal, which they want very, very quickly, then I don't pitch the deal. I call them up, and here's exactly the script. Exactly the script. Let's say, Bryan, you're my private lender. All right. You've been sitting on the fence. You're ready to fund, my deal. I call you up and I say, hey, Bryan, I've got fantastic news. I can now put your money to work for you. I have a house under contract in Newport. The after repaired value is $200,000. The funding requires $150,000. You see, I know you got $150,000 because you already told me. So I got $150,000 that's required. The closing is next Thursday, so you need to have your funds wired either from your self-directed IRA or your investment capital to my closing agent by next Wednesday, and I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. You'll need to call my attorney to verbally confirm to make sure you got the right wiring instructions, and we'll get all closed next Thursday, and I'll get you money making money. End of conversation. The most stupid question I could ask you is, do you want to do the deal? Of course you want to do the deal. You've been waiting for me to call you to put your money to work. And of course, I'm not going to bring you a deal to fund unless it meets the criteria of the program that I already taught you. So it's teach the program, bring a deal to fund, and your lender's ready to go.
Yeah, I like that too, because you're right. A lot of people try to go out and get the deal, and then you are begging. You're begging for the money versus this way, you have a lender list lined up that you've already educated and pretty much got a commitment from. They're just waiting for you to get something attractive for them to invest in.
Yeah, I mean, and they're chasing me. I just got a text yesterday from one of my private lenders. They got about $600,000 with me, but $100,000 I paid off recently on a deal. So when I pay it off, I send them the money back, unless I do a substitution of collateral. I do a lot of substitutions of collateral where we keep their note open, right, and working. and we just recollateralize that note with a different property that I'm doing. But I paid them off. I get a text from them yesterday, and they said, "Hey Jay, how you coming along? When can you put this 100,000 back to work that you paid me off?" So they're like begging to get that money back to work. And isn't that a 180-degree difference from your local bank that, you're chasing them and getting down on your hands and knees and begging?
It is. Now, what are you doing? Are you doing long term, or like what's the difference between private money and hard money?
Well, my lands. Can we get that in on this podcast? So here's the quick down and dirty between hard money and private money. So hard money is most of the time a broker of money. Most of the time, the hard money lender is not loaning out their own money, right? So most of the time, it's a broker. It's a company or an individual that has gone out and raised private money from individuals, human beings, just like I do business with, right? I don't have any middle person involved. Most of the time, a hard money lender is a middle person to where they're brokering the money. They go out and raise money for their fund, all right, their hard money fund, and private lenders invest in the fund. Well, the security that the private lender has is a document, right, which is a disclosure of the private placement memorandum. So they invest in that pool or that fund. So here's the difference. And the list is long, but I'll make it quick. Number one, interest rate. I'm paying my private lenders right now 8%. Well, hard money lenders now, due to the rise in interest rates, are, 12%, 14%. National average now is 14%. Now, don't get me wrong. Some are 10%. So I'm talking averages, 14%. Then there's origination fees. Well, doing business with private lenders, there's never any points or origination fees. With the hard money lender, that's how they make their money. They charge points or origination fees to originate the loan. Those are going to average 2 points to 4 points, which means if you borrow $100,000, 4 points, you got to bring $4,000 to the closing table to your hard money broker. Then thirdly, you got extension fees. Well, most hard money lenders are only going to loan 6 months, 9 months, maybe 12 months. Well, my private lenders, all my notes are either 2 years or 5 years. 2 years if it's investment capital, liquid funds. 5 years if the money is coming from their retirement account from a self-directed IRA. So in my world of private money, there's no rush to pay it back, right? And then in addition to that, another big difference is how much money is the hard money lender versus the private lender going to advance to you when you purchase. Oh, my lands. That's one of my biggest, favorite reasons to use private money. Hard money lender is going to lend you 65%, maybe 80% on most of them of the purchase price, no matter how good the deal is. Who's got to come up with the rest of the money as far as a down payment? You do, right? The real estate investor. Right. In this world of private money, guess what? We never take any of our own money to the closing table. And on top of that, we always borrow more than we need for the purchase. If we're going to do a rehab, we get all the rehab money up front. So one of my favorite reasons for private money is I always bring home a big check when I buy. Who wants to get paid to buy houses, right? And bring none of your own money to the closing table. So private money is the fastest way to get your first real estate deal. And if you're a seasoned real estate investor, talk about an influx in your checking account. I bring home $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 all the time when I buy and bring none of my own money to the closing table. And then credit scores. My credit, your credit's got nothing to do with how much private money you can get because it's a collateralized loan. And then your credit score's got nothing to do with how much private money you can get. Hard money lender, the bank, they're going to pull your credit. Most of them are going to look up your skirt and want to see your financial statement, right? In this world of private money, no financial statements, no credit score. And then I'll just leave you with this one, and there's more. But with private money, I can close any deal in 7 days. 7 days, right? Hard money is going to take typically 3 weeks or more. So I get more offers accepted from motivated sellers because I can close quickly, get them all their cash versus my competition that's, going to take longer to close. So the bottom line is this world of private money just puts you in the driver's seat of your business.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too, especially like you're talking hard money. You have to come out with money out of your pocket. A lot of times the rehab, then you have to go with them. They need to come see the project and then release more funds versus if you're controlling the whole process, number one is less stressful and you can just work it better.
Well, and use private money, you sleep better and your sex life is better too.
I like it. So for everyone who's listening, what types of people would they keep their eyes open for? Like, how do you find the private money people?
Great question, Bryan. There's 3 primary categories of where these private lenders are, right? First category is your own connections, your own centers of influence. Who is in your cell phone? They're all potential private lenders. Your email list, your Facebook friends, and I mean your real Facebook friends, not your fake Facebook friends that you have no idea who they are. Any social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, etc. All those connections. So all those are potential private lenders that you can teach what private money is. And by the way, I don't go around chasing nobody. I invite them to Zoom presentations, private money, events, luncheons. It takes the same amount of time to teach a program to one person as it does to, 20 or 25. So first is your own connections. Then, in addition to that, we have what's called your expanded market. How do you expand your connections, right? By the way, the first category is any group you're in. Who do you go to church with? Who's in the Chamber of Commerce that you know? Rotary clubs, civic clubs, all those connections that you got. By the way, if you don't have all those connections, expand your market and get involved in your community, right? Be a servant, bring value, make connections, relationships, and then you have like, trust, all that kind of stuff. Then you have another category called existing private lenders. Well, where in the world are these individuals that are loaning money out? Well, when I first started raising private money, I had my real estate attorney's paralegal search public records in our local county looking for individuals that have loaned money out secured by real estate. We found 2 people in 90 days in my small market. I said, there's got to be a better and quicker way. So we developed years ago what's called my private lender data feed. We get every private lender loan information that's closed every month in the nation. There's about 15,000 of them a month, right? So we get the private lenders, the individuals' name, contact information, how much money they're loaning out, the interest rate they're getting, all that. And so there's another list of existing private lenders. And when you're making your own list, I can tell you a great place to find them. And those are retired people. Well, retired people, there's a good chance they've got retirement accounts. And with the volatility of the stock market, the older they get, the less likely they're going to live long enough to live through a correction of the stock market. And in this program, they love it because the principal loan amount, their investment, remains the same. Nothing comes out of it, no fees, no commissions, and they know exactly what their rate of return is going to be. Where can you find retired people? Well, obviously, in your own network of people. But in addition to that, get involved with your local self directed IRA company. They have networking parties all the time. And did you know that approximately 70% of people that have a retirement account at a self directed IRA company wants to loan money out to you, the real estate investor? They want to be passive. They don't want to negotiate deals. These private lenders don't want to go to motivatedleads.com and get leads and negotiate leads. They just want to loan their money out from their retirement account.
Right.
So those people are a great place to start, are retired people.
Okay, that's a good point too. Yeah, because you're right. A lot of people want to be involved with real estate, but they don't want to do any of that. They're looking to just invest passively. So, yeah, that's a good point there. Jay, hey, we're about out of time. Is there anything else we missed? I know you have a gift you want to give everybody. How do they get that, and what is it?
Absolutely. I'm so excited, Bryan. I just recently finished writing my brand new private money guide, and it's called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and help you build incredible wealth. This will get you on the fast track to private money, how to never miss out on a deal for not having the funding. And I don't care if you're brand new or you're seasoned real estate investor, this private money guide, you can download it for free, will get you the private money fast. I got over $2 million in less than 90 days. You can download this private money guide at www.jconnor. And by the way, I'm an ER, not an OR, like most Connors. So I am www.jconnor, JayConner.com/money guide. That's jconnor, JayConner.com/money guide. You'll get it right away and on the fast track to never missing out on a deal for not having the funding.
That's great. Yeah, everyone listening, go check that out. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Download it. It's always great to learn additional things like that. Hey, well, Jay, I want to tell you, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you.
Bryan, I appreciate you. I love being in our mastermind together. Always learn things when we're together. And I tell you what, I can't wait to start getting my motivated seller leads in addition to my other resources from your motivatedleads.com. So, hey, you and me are answering the question, where do you find the deals and how do you fund the deals? It's like a marriage made in heaven. Well, a marriage made in real estate investing.
Yeah, I hear you. That's right, because those are one of the two top hardest things to get.
Thank you for having me on, Bryan. God bless you.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Hey, and everyone, thanks for listening. Until next time, get out there, crush it, and close some deals.